Good afternoon. We're delighted to have you join us today for some conversation around the opening of fall semester. We look forward to welcoming our new students to campus. We're going to take just a moment to give everyone the opportunity to join us. Then we'll be right back with you. So please be patient for just a minute or two. Thank you. Good afternoon. Welcome to our Zoom conference call to provide to our students and families information about the opening of our fall semester at the University of Findlay. We're delighted to have you join us this afternoon. I'm Kathy Fell, University of Findlay President, and I look forward to welcoming you in person. It's my favorite time of year. A few items for this afternoon that we thought might be helpful to you as you prepare for this transition are what we're doing to prepare for COVID-19, of course, the protocols we have in place, and I'll cover those for you. And then we'll invite three other cabinet members, Dave Emsweller, Vice President for Student Affairs, Darren Fields, Vice President for Academic Affairs, and Brandy Larita, Director of Athletics, to provide a few opening remarks for you. Following our remarks, we will answer questions that you have the opportunity to send in by typing those questions in. We'll be taking those questions when we finish our remarks, and we'll take as many of them as we possibly can. If we don't get to all of your questions, we'll have an opportunity for you to find commonly asked questions and answers on our website, and we'll share that information with you as well. But we are, again, very pleased to be offering online and in-person classes this fall. We're going to have as close to a normal semester of college as we possibly can. And we know that you're looking forward to that as much as we are. And we're going to ask that you cooperate with us and help us make it a success. So the protocols we have in place to be sure that we keep you as safe as possible and to offer you something close to an expected college experience are these. One, UF has, of course, established a number of protocols already for self-monitoring, quarantining, and isolating if cases of COVID-19 are detected on campus. We are on it, and I want you to be assured of that. These protocols are in accordance with the Center for Disease Control and state and local health professionals. We're working closely with them and are in frequent communication with them. UF will work closely throughout your time with us this semester and into the spring semester. We will do everything we can to be responsible, and we ask you to do the same. Second, any evidence of an outbreak on campus or our community at large will be closely monitored. Should UF see evidence of significant exposure on campus or just beyond campus, we would take immediate action to contain and limit further spread. We would work in close cooperation, as I said, with local health officials. Actions to contain or limit spread could include these: temporarily moving some or all face-to-face classes online, but allowing students to remain in residence on campus. And again, I said temporarily. It could be that when the spread is contained, we could immediately go back to in-person classes. So it wouldn't necessarily be for a long period of time. Second, we would consider moving campus events and activities online. We might also cancel campus events if needed. And fourth, should Hancock County, the county we're in, Hancock County, move to the highest level of concern, purple level 4, we would expect stringent health department directives to contain the situation, and we would, of course, follow those fully. At that point, we would encourage residential students to move home, unless it would be safer for them to remain on campus. And we can make provision for that, certainly, if that's what happens. We're hoping by following our guidelines and wearing masks and distancing safely and responsibly, that we will not move to such a level, but we'll be prepared for any eventuality. And our faculty and staff are prepared to adjust quickly in the delivery of courses and in decisions about campus activities. So we are in this together. The UF Board of Trustees, the senior cabinet leaders, and I are serious about maintaining the protocols we've outlined here. And we ask you to be serious about them as well. If you do what you're asked and we do what we're supposed to do, we will get through this together and deliver for you a great college experience. So with that, let me turn the mic over to my colleague, Dave Emsweller, Vice President for Student Affairs.
Hello there, good evening. I'm glad you could all join us. We are very excited to have people back on campus, and we are looking forward to the year. I've been working a lot with the Oilers Start Safe and Stay Safe program, and I wanted to just talk a little bit about that. Most of you have been seeing emails throughout the summer where we provided updates about all the things we were working on. We had a number of people who worked on the plan, and those people included health professionals, crisis response professionals, as well as faculty and staff. And we tried to come up with something that sort of addressed all the different areas that would be impacted by the current situation. So we talked about how we can promote a healthy and safe environment, about reporting, monitoring, identifying potential cases. We talked about how we can sustain academic quality, managing the off-campus experience as well as travel, engaging in campus life, which is very important, campus events and gatherings, COVID-19 accommodations for students and employees, and then we also provided a number of resources from the state of Ohio and the CDC. We created an Oiler Pledge that we sent out a while back, and we're going to be actually sending that out again shortly, where we're going to ask people to sign the Oiler Pledge. We're really looking for help in terms of everyone in the community supporting each other, everyone in the community trying to do the right thing to protect the health of everyone. So obviously, as Dr. Fell mentioned, wearing masks, physically distancing, looking out for each other is very important in order to keep Oiler Nation healthy and safe. We also have a set of frequently asked questions that's available, and we are going to update those as we go. So we will keep providing information to those as we get new information. We've made a lot of changes in facilities to try to accommodate physical distancing. We've created a daily health monitoring tool that students and faculty staff can use. That information goes directly to the Costiano Health Center, and that enables them to follow up immediately if someone reports a symptom. We've made arrangements for quarantining. We've made arrangements for isolation. We're trying to be as proactive as we possibly can, because your students' safety, your safety, I know there's a lot of parents on this, your student safety is very important, and we want to do whatever we can, but we also need their help. So hopefully they can help us with this plan, and as they get here, they can make the campus environment a safe place to be and a healthy place to be. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Fields.
Thanks, Dave. Good evening. I'm Darren Fields, Vice President for Academic Affairs, and what I want to spend a little bit of time talking with you tonight is about how we developed the academic component of the Euler Start Safe, Stay Safe plan. And I would encourage all of you, students and parents, to please read through that plan and understand it as you get ready to come back to campus. The group that worked to assemble how we would deliver the fall semester in light of COVID-19 was comprised of all of our 6 academic deans of our colleges, a number of key faculty leaders, as well as some staff, and we had close coordination with the overall group working on developing the Start Safe, Stay Safe plan. In addition, we also worked in close communication with similar working groups at other higher education institutions all around the state of Ohio. In our plan, we focused on these key areas of consideration as we made decisions. Safety, of course, was first and foremost in our consideration, and it governed all of our planning. We worked closely with the campus units regarding the spaces in classrooms, the capacity considerations of those classrooms, how they would be cleaned, and other protections that we would put in place to ensure a safe classroom experience. All of this information informed the decisions that we made about how we would deliver fall classes. It is certainly the case that it will not be a completely normal semester. Some of our classes will have to be online. Some of our classes will be delivered in a hybrid fashion, but we believe that we are able to retain a significant campus experience. In May, we asked faculty to use the summer to prepare their courses, however, for a possible shift fully online delivery in case we had a significant resurgence of COVID. And over the course of the summer, we offered a great deal of support to faculty through our Center for Teaching Excellence to develop those courses to the highest possible quality that they could in order to ensure a high quality online experience should it be necessary. We determined that we needed to prioritize our face-to-face classes on learning experiences where that mode of delivery had the most impact on student engagement, learning, and retention. And this included several first-year courses, senior-level capstone courses, other kinds of small, high-engagement courses, as well as experiential learning environments. In order to ease the demand on classroom space and enable the safest possible in-class experience, we determined that we would need to deliver approximately 30 to 35% of our courses fully online. The remainder of our courses will be delivered face-to-face or in a hybrid approach. In a normal semester, we normally offer about 20% of our courses fully online. We expanded our ability to have synchronous online delivery by the addition of a number of cameras in classrooms, as well as larger group conferencing cameras and speakers. Those are in about 60 of our classrooms, and all of our classrooms are equipped with cameras. This will facilitate attendance by students who are not able to be in the class face-to-face. No matter how much planning we've done, we recognize that we're facing an uncertain and changing situation. We believe we've prepared as well as we possibly can, but we've also committed to being as flexible as we can possibly be. In that flexibility, we put our students front and center in everything that we're doing to ensure that they receive the safest and the highest quality education that we can possibly provide at this time. Thanks, and now I will turn it over to Brandy Larita.
Good evening. In the spirit of athletics, I believe we're winning in the race of ever-changing plans as our plans continue to change almost daily. A little bit of an update on where we're at today. On August 5th, the NCAA put out new mandates that changed our plans for return to athletic competition drastically. On August 6th, the NCAA Division II President's Council canceled all fall championship events. So 2 major events happened to athletics last week. And then this week on Monday, the GMAC President's Council supported the athletic directors and administrators motion to postpone all contact sports, fall championship sports, including football, volleyball, men's, women's soccer, to the spring. It is our intention and our best hope that we will be able to continue with the cross-country championship this fall, along with providing the opportunity for men's, women's tennis and men's, women's golf to compete in their split seasons. All of that being said, we know there's lots of questions and lots of unknowns as we continue to get information, even as we sit here. We will have a specific student athlete webinar on Thursday at 5 p.m. So we will be able to answer athletic questions in more detail on Thursday. But overall, we're moving forward. We're looking forward to all of our student athletes coming back and being highly engaged in athletics in many different ways rather than just in competition. So we look forward to seeing you all back here, and we will continue to update you. The student athletes, please tune in on Thursday for more specific athletic updates.
So now I'd like to open all of us up to answering any questions that we can for you. We also have in the room, we have here 3 representatives from our senior leadership cabinet, but we have other members of senior leadership cabinet in the room to answer questions that may not be in our areas. So please, if you have questions, send them in. If you don't, I may ask you some.
We do have a question.
Okay.
The first question, is there a limit to the number of people or family members that can help you move in?
Well, that's a good question. And Dave, you could answer that.
There's not necessarily a limit. We would just say that as you bring people to move in, we'll want you to wear masks. We'll want you to physically distance. We're going to have staff placed around to be monitoring move in. But unless you're planning on bringing 20, 30 people to help move someone in, you should be good.
Thank you. The next one is there any update on the Western and English writing teams?
That's a good question. Darren, would you like to take that? Do you have an update on the teams?
I don't particularly have an update. I think the assumption is that they are able to ride. We would have to look at specific competitions in terms of distance from campus and where they might be located and monitor that as we go along. But the teams themselves should be able to ride and participate if possible.
Thank you. Can other students that I meet on campus hang out in our dorm rooms together?
Residential students may go back and forth to their locations. So residential students, but we're not permitting outside guests beyond residential students at this point.
Okay, thank you. What is the protocol for testing students?
For COVID testing?
Yes.
So our plan at this point is to test students who are symptomatic and to monitor them closely. We have a daily check-in for students so that if anyone is showing any symptoms or is concerned, that student needs to contact Cossiana Health Center immediately, and then we'll take it from there and determine the best next step for that student at the Cossiana Health Center. But we don't have a plan at this time to test everyone when he or she arrives on campus, because we would, the number of tests nationwide is limited, and we don't find, our health professionals do not advise us to do that. It seems to them that the wiser course of action is to test symptomatic students.
Thank you. We have an attendee who's asking, did you say the students would have to sign the Euler Pledge again?
Well, we've sent out the Euler Pledge. We sent it out as a document to review. We didn't actually ask anyone to sign it at this point. We sent it out and communicated it out. We really wanted just people to get familiar with it at first, but we are going to be setting it up on a web page or a Google Doc for people to actually sign it.
Okay, thank you, Dave. We have an attendee who's asking, how do students know if a class is online or in person?
So on the fall schedule, on the course schedule, all online sections have a section number designation of N, and then whatever the section number would be. So N1, N2, N3. Those are the courses that are online. In terms of which courses might be delivered in a hybrid format, which might mean, for example, in a larger class, that half the students attend on one day, half the students attend on a second day, and then they rotate that with supplemental material being delivered online. Those courses, you will learn that as you attend class and receive the syllabus. But the fully online sections are marked with an N as the first letter of the section number.
Thank you, Darren. We are having a couple questions about online versus hybrid. So can you just summarize that again?
Yeah, happy to do so. So a fully online course would be completely asynchronous, and that means that students would take that course through Canvas in a series of modules. They would have regular contact with the faculty member in an online way. That might be through discussion, through email, and potentially Zoom meetings and interactions in that way. But the course would be fully packaged in the Canvas workspace as an online course, and students would do work as they move through the course. A hybrid course would include some face-to-face component, some class meetings, or potentially small group meetings in socially distanced spaces that would augment then online learning in some way. So the course might still be delivered. 50% of the material would be working through the Canvas, and the rest of the time would include being in a class setting or being in some face-to-face interaction with other students and the faculty member.
Thank you, Darren. Have you given any consideration to random testing of students?
We have not considered doing random testing at this point. It has been something that the Cosiano Health Center and our campus physician, we have talked about. But again, in working with the health department and working with others, that has not been something recommended to us at this point.
Thank you, Dave. Will the university have a mechanism in place for contact tracing for a student, staff, or faculty that tests positive?
Yes. Number one, the health department is notified immediately. So when there's a confirmed case, the health department is notified. So our health department does contact tracing. Additionally, through our telemed program, through our College of Pharmacy, they are also going to assist with doing contact tracing as well. So we will actually be doing it ourselves, but we will also be doing it with the health department. So we'll be taking sort of two different tacks with that.
Thank you. Someone's asking, are there any restrictions on students with off-campus apartments?
Well, students who live off campus, obviously we want them to follow the Oilers Start Safe, Stay Safe plan. And we want them to do the daily health check app. I think that's very important for students off campus to be using the app every day. And obviously, if they have any symptoms or they have questions, we want them to contact Cosiano Health Center immediately as well. Should someone off campus have COVID-19, we could also work with them to assist with quarantining or isolation should they need that. So we are going to work with the off-campus students, but there is an expectation that, just like for employees, that you do adhere to the Stay Safe, Start Safe, Stay Safe plan.
Could I add to that? I will make clear to students many times as we begin the semester and throughout the semester that we expect students to abide by responsible adult protocol for this season of pandemic, whether you're on campus or not. We're not dealing with a student body of children. This is an adult student body, and we expect our students to behave as adults, and we find that they do. It's a culture. The culture here at the University of Findlay is responsible, respectful behavior toward others, making sure others are comfortable and cared for. And I think our students will abide by that. Of course, there could be exceptions, and we want to know if there are exceptions, and we will handle those as we learn about them. But I am hoping that with the additional pressure of COVID-19, our students will rise to the occasion.
Thank you, Dr. Fell. Will students be provided a UF mask upon attending move-in, arriving at move-in?
As students come in to pick up their keys to move into their residence hall room, yes, we will have a supply of masks that we are going to be handing out during check-in. And then we will also, throughout the year, security is going to keep a supply of disposable masks available. So if someone does not have one, they can get one. And we're also looking at, student government's also looking at purchasing some masks to make available in different locations.
This is another move-in question, Dave. Where does the student go first on Thursday?
All check-ins happen at the Alumni Memorial Union. So what'll happen is we'll have people outside, and if a family pulls up, we'll ask the student to get out of the car and ask the student to come into the union, and then the student will go through the check-in process. And then they can go back out, join their family, and be directed to where they can park to move into their facility.
Thank you. This is another one regarding moving in. If we cannot bring everything we need on Thursday, will our parents be able to bring it up on Friday?
Yes, that's perfectly fine. They can do that.
Somebody has shoes. I moved those shoes too.
Will there be repercussions if a student fails to adhere to the Euler Pledge and then puts other students, staff, and faculty at risk for transmission of COVID?
Well, in essence, what we've talked about with our residence life staff and our security staff and others is we obviously will ask people to comply. If we see that someone isn't complying, the goal is going to be to just talk with them and take that approach. If someone, though, is clearly disregarding the protocols in a purposeful way, then that would warrant a discussion that we would have with the student or the employee about that, and we would deal with that on a case-by-case situation.
And we would take action. If there's blatant endangerment of other people, of course we're going to take action. But we're not setting this up to catch people who forget their mask and send them to jail. That's not what we're about. Responsible adult behavior, but if there's blatant disrespectful and dangerous behavior, we'll address that as we would any other aberrant behavior of that degree.
Thank you. Darren, this one is for you. My online class doesn't give me a time when it will be held. What should I do?
So online courses, you will, as a student registered in that section of class, there is a Canvas course site for that class that you will be able to access, and that is how you will attend class.
Thank you. With contact tracing, will students who've been potentially exposed be contacted directly?
Yes, the plan that the health department follows currently is if there is a case, they talk to that person about all the people they had contact with, and then the health department does reach out to people and contacts them, asking them if they had contact, and if they did, then providing them directions. Again, we will do our own contact tracing too, so we will reach out to people. Obviously, if someone is diagnosed with it, the information they provide about who they've been in contact with is critical, because that's the information we need. But yes, we make every effort we could to contact people.
And we're going to stay with you, Dave. Will off-campus students be provided UF masks as well?
Yes, we're going to try and provide as many masks as we can. Again, we already have many ordered, and student government is actually looking again at providing a large supply of them, which would cover pretty much most of the student body.
And this is kind of both for Dave and Darren. What is the quarantine process, and will students still be able to take online classes?
So if a person has to be quarantined, we have some select locations that we have picked out where the student can reside. At the point they need to be quarantined, we would help them get their belongings that they needed for the quarantine period. We would let them into the quarantine space. Meals would be delivered, so we would provide all the food while we were there. And then and we would be checking on them a couple times a day through Cosiano to monitor their condition and see if there's anything they need. As for classes, I'll let Darren talk about that.
So part of the reason faculty prepared their courses to be delivered fully online was for some of this eventuality. Part of the reason that we enhanced the ability to have synchronous delivery in the classrooms was also for this reason. So students who are quarantining, which would very likely mean they are not necessarily ill, but they are simply not able to attend class, would be able to attend class either synchronously through Zoom in one of the spaces that enables that, or shift to online during the time that they're in the quarantine, but they would still be able to participate and complete their classwork. I would also just real quickly note, when a student has been identified to be quarantined, our Euler Success Center will reach out to each of the faculty members that student has classes with to let them know, and our faculty will be flexible.
And could you explain a little bit about what the Euler Success Center is?
So the Euler Success Center is in Old Main, and it is an office where actually, the way we present it is, if you have a question, go to the Euler Success Center. And their role is to assist students with a variety of things. But for instance, if a student is going to miss classes or has an issue or concern, they start there, and then the Euler Success Center communicates with faculty and advisors and works with the student to make sure that we accommodate them as best as possible.
And this kind of goes with that, Dave. If I'm experiencing symptoms, will my professors work with me to still be able to get my work done? And since attendance is part of my grade, will my grade be hurt if I cannot attend due to symptoms keeping me from class?
I'll let Darren weigh in on that actually, but if you have a true health concern, we're going to do whatever we can to work with you.
Yeah, I would say that, in any given semester, students become ill and are unable to attend class, and our faculty and working with the Euler Success Center work to enable them to be able to do work and to work through that. If a student is, for example, isolating and having some symptoms, and so therefore may not be fully able to engage with class, we would work, and the faculty would work with that student to be able to keep them going in class, and then they can catch up when they feel better.
Thank you, Darren. We have a question about, is UF going online classes after Thanksgiving?
So what we have done is we have adjusted our fall semester calendar to eliminate fall break. So we have classes that will run when we would normally have fall break. And then at Thanksgiving, we will shift to online classes for the last week of class, and then final exams will be delivered online. But realistically speaking, because we removed fall break, the actual number of classes that are affected is about 2 classes for a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule, and 1 class for a Thursday schedule. So most of our faculty are preparing to have all of the course content delivered by Thanksgiving. And then they will use that week after Thanksgiving for final exam preparation, review sessions, that sort of thing.
Darren, we're going to stay with you and let you answer, what is the plan for students that are taking lab classes?
So those lab courses which are able to have face-to-face experiences, we have lab kits that students will have, as they normally would in those labs. Should we have to move to online, we are prepared to have virtual labs as well as lab kits that students can have at home to do the lab sessions.
Darren, you're in the hot seat right now. One more question about, what should I do if my online class, could you be a little bit more specific, doesn't give a time? What do I do with that?
So all online classes would begin, you can potentially look and get into that class right now. Many of them are already open, but certainly by the first day of classes, those classes are open on campus. So you would locate that on your schedule and be able to connect to campus and start the course.
Thank you. If you have an off-campus student who can quarantine due to illness in their off-campus housing, will UF monitor the student's health? And if so, how?
So if an off-campus student has to quarantine, we would take the same approach we do with an on-campus student. Cosiano would want to check in with them twice a day to monitor how they're doing, what their symptoms are. They would use the daily health check app. So we would do that. Additionally, the health department will probably be checking in on the student as well.
And thank you. How will you determine when we are through the pandemic to the point where a more normal class and college experience can restart?
Well, do we just stop and pray? Because I don't know how else to determine it, other than to ask the one who knows all. So we're going to move back to a normal experience as the country moves back, as our state and as our county does. We don't have a separate plan for our campus, although we perhaps have more control over our residents than the county or state might, and we'll take advantage of that. I like to think also that we have a highly responsible, highly mature population on our campus. So we're hoping that we can use the protocols more regularly and more systematically than perhaps the community at large in any location. So that should help us get back to normal a little faster. But was the question, what are the indicators that it's time?
Yes, I think they're looking for.
I would just
how
say
we know.
when we have virtually no further diagnoses of the pandemic on our campus or in our immediately surrounding community.
Okay, thank you. So just to clarify, online classes are already open and self-paced, so don't take a place at a specific time. Is that correct? They're asking if they're just
I'm waiting
self-paced.
for the camera. So yes, fully online asynchronous courses are not necessarily self-paced. They will have weekly assignments and due dates and those sorts of things, but they don't have a designated meeting time. There will be some courses that will have a synchronous delivery. Those will be hybrid courses. They will have a designated meeting time. So when you look at this course schedule and you see that your course is an N section, an online section, an internet section, it will not have a time associated with that. You would directly connect to the Canvas course to get started.
How will the arch ceremony be handled?
Good question.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't, the way we're going to do the arch ceremony is we're going to gather all the new students over in our Taylor complex, which is a large enough space to physically distance everyone as well as the faculty. Dr. Bell will talk to them briefly, and then they will start the march to the arch, and everyone will have a mask on. They will march in an order so they're distant from each other. The faculty that will line the arch on either side are all going to be at least 6 feet apart, lining the arch, and then the students will be single file, 6 feet apart, walking through. We're going to record all of it as it happens, so you'll be able to watch it live, you'll be able to see it afterwards. We're going to take pictures of students. The large change for the arch ceremony, though, is that we're not having spectators in the area because we can't have a large group of people obviously crowding in to watch. So that's why we're going to make sure you can watch it live stream and you can get pictures of it. And we know that's a change for families, but we wanted to make sure that the students had the opportunity to walk through. And this is the best way to do it given the situation we have.
Dave, just a follow-up question. How will parents get pictures of their students? Do we know?
Upload the Flickr album within a couple days.
Okay, they're going to be uploaded to a Flickr album in a couple days, and you'll be able to go in and we'll be able to we'll send a link out to you that links you to that album, and you'll see all the pictures and you'll be able to get them.
This is just a question in theory. Are students moving back in January? What's next semester going to look like?
Well, we hope that it'll be closer to normal, but you all have the same information that we do. We're hoping, of course, that the use of masks and distancing throughout the world will help decrease the frequency of diagnoses of COVID-19, and we'll be able to continue and move back to something closer to normal by the spring semester. We are not expecting students, I don't believe, to move out completely out of the residence halls. They will just move as they always do for the holidays and come back to their residence location when we begin again in January. And we are as eager to remove restrictions as you are to have them removed. So we'll be in this together, and we will be as clear with you and communicate with you as frequently as we can about the information we have, the decisions we're making, and why we're making them. So I can't tell you now what decision we'll make in January, but what I can tell you is that you will know what we're thinking and why we're thinking it. And I think it will make sense to you. I can't promise that, but we will try to be sensible. It's typically who we are.
Dave, a participant is asking, I keep hearing to use the app health tracker, but is there an actual app or is it through email only?
It's through, so you get a daily email asking you to do it. You can also get to it through the Euler mobile app. So if you go to the Euler mobile app, you actually get a notification that then takes you that. It's actually a web page you're going to and you're filling out a form and you're hitting submit. So calling it an app probably is a bit of an overstatement, but you can get to it multiple ways. But Euler mobile app would be what I would suggest is download that. You'll get a notification every day. You basically click on it, log in, and it takes about 10 seconds to fill out.
Will buildings like the library and rec center still be open? And if so, what restrictions do you have in place?
Yes, those buildings will be open. So in the library, for instance, they have distanced the furniture and the study areas to make provisions for physical distancing, but obviously we want students to use that facility. The rec center will be open. They've worked very hard up in the cardio center, for instance, to distance the machines appropriately, increased our measures to keep the space clean and sanitary, but those facilities will be available.
As we're getting close to dinner, this is an important one. How will dining work with social distancing and masks?
So dining services has worked very closely with the health department, and we have the Henderson Dining Hall is set up per the guidelines from the health department that apply to all restaurants in the city of Findlay. So tables, there's a distance between tables, and when people come into the dining hall, they have to have their mask on, and they have to have their mask on as they walk around. As they're eating, of course, they won't have their mask on. But there is distancing that is there. Now, students do sit with each other at tables, but just like a restaurant, the assumption being that you come in with some people you know and you sit and eat with them, which you are permitted to do. So our goal is to try and make sure that we have the appropriate distancing in effect. We're serving all the food so that there's no opportunity for someone to serve themselves to spread anything. And we're hoping that that will work well like it's working for the restaurants in town.
Thank you, Dave. Will the students be given a thermometer from the school when they check in?
They will not be given a thermometer. Hopefully they can bring one. Cosiano, though, does have, our health center has thermometers. So if someone really doesn't have one and wants to get their temperature taken at any point, they can go to Cosiano, and Cosiano will gladly do that.
Thank you. So we're back to the arch ceremony. For the photographer that's going to be there, can the students take their mask off to get their picture taken for the camera, or do they leave their mask on?
That's a great question, and not one that we've really talked about in terms of whether they're walking. You know, it's going to be difficult though, because the line's going to keep moving pretty clearly. They're 6 feet apart. Could someone pull their mask down for a quick picture? Yes, probably. We'll have to see how talented the photographer is.
Good question. And how careful the students are to stay apart.
Yeah.
They do, we should be able to.
Yeah, I mean, we're planning for them to be at least 6 feet apart as they march through. That's a question. I thought we'd thought of everything.
I hadn't thought that.
They are on it tonight. Will the public still be allowed on campus and invited to campus events, or will we try to limit the campus to students in order to minimize risk of transmission to other students, faculty, and staff?
Well, the campus is somewhat limiting people who are coming on right now. We've scaled back events. We can't have any large events per the state of Ohio anyway, so we're not really having large events on campus. We are asking in the Oilers Start Safe, Stay Safe plan, if you bring a guest on campus, you're responsible for making sure they follow all the protocols that are in the plan. So yes, can people come on campus for events? There will be some of that going on, although it is going to be somewhat diminished just by virtue of what's going on right now in terms of the number of events we're allowed to have.
So we already have someone with a lot of school spirit who said, thanks for hosting this conference call today, first class, go Oilers. And then asks, where will off-campus housing students check in and pick up their keys? They're hoping to do this on Sunday.
I'm not sure. Off-campus students who are going to live on campus?
Well,
Maybe they
That's a
don't mean
good
keys.
question.
Maybe they don't mean keys. Maybe they mean
Maybe they
other
just mean
things.
check in.
Other things. Like
So off-campus
IDs and
students
that
would-
sort of thing.
So if we have students who, well, I guess I would need to know, for an off-campus student, the only off-campus student who would really be coming on campus to check in is if you're a new student for orientation, you're a commuter.
So I'll ask that student that asked that question if they could just provide a little bit more detail so that we can make sure we get an answer for them. We'll go to another one while we're waiting for that. If students feel more comfortable, would they be permitted to take their meals to their rooms?
Yes, Henderson, Simply to Go is always going to be functioning. So anytime a student would prefer to do that, they just do a Simply to Go option instead.
Thank you. If there are no large events on campus, how will new student orientation work?
So for new student orientation, we are splitting students up into what we are calling Findlay families. So orientation leaders will have a smaller group that they work with that's considered their Findlay family. And then we do have a couple events where they are all together, but they will be physically distanced while they are all together.
Okay, panel, we have an actual non-COVID question. What is the dress attire for the arch ceremony?
Black tie formal.
That is a great question. And look, this class is already rocking it because I don't think anybody's ever asked that before. I don't know that we don't have a dress requirement for the art ceremony.
Except for us.
Yeah, we dress up in our robes and regalia, but the students typically dress as students. Wear shoes, no pajamas.
Okay, so how do we know which Findlay family we will be in, or will we find out when we sign up for orientation?
When you arrive to check in for orientation, you'll get all your information. There'll be an information packet that you receive, and the orientation leaders will explain all that to you.
So a follow-up question someone else is asking is, will they find out their orientation leader at check-in? And
Yes.
that is okay.
Yeah.
What should I do if I've yet to receive my ID card in the mail?
Do not worry about that. Normally, at new student registrations, we take your picture and we get your ID cards. We couldn't do that this year. So they were supposed to be mailing temporary cards out to everyone. But if you arrive and you did not get the temporary card, it's nothing to worry about. During your check-in process, we'll talk to you about that. And then as we go through the first couple of weeks of school, we're going to be taking pictures over in Henderson and then issuing you your ID card. So you don't need to worry about that.
Great. We've gotten a follow-up to the one that we had earlier. The student will be on campus in a house. So keys for the on-campus house.
Same, like you go to the Alumni Memorial Union, anyone who lives on campus, you just check in the same spot.
And will Sunday be an okay day to check in for her?
Yes, we have check-in going Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m.
And that right now is all the questions we have. Oh, just a moment. Will part of the orientation involve locating classrooms on your schedule?
There are a couple sessions where the students get to meet in their families with their orientation leader, and that's one of the things they will talk about, looking at your schedule, and then you'll have some time. You'll have time to go around and find your rooms and things like that.
And we do have another one. What happens if a student forgets to log into the app and record their temperature? How would that process work?
Well, at this point, we are right now asking everyone to log in and do it, and you're going to get the daily reminder, and we'll do that. We have some reports then we can run to find out if people aren't filling it out. But if we notice that someone was not utilizing it, we would follow up with them privately.
And this is another good question. Will there still be orientation service projects?
There actually will. They will be different. They'll all be on campus, and it's all going to be things where you're going to be working within your families, your smaller families, with your orientation leader, and you're going to be given a specific thing that you're going to get to work on to help a local community agency.
Excellent. Okay, is there any change in the process to get a parking permit?
I don't believe so. That's the same. Yeah. You ask for it online, and then you'll be able to pick it up at security.
So they ask for it ahead of time.
You can request it online, and then you can, but if you don't, you can take care of that when you get here too.
Okay. And right now we've completed all the questions.
Well, thank you. These were good questions. Enjoyed having this virtual conversation with you. Is there another question? Okay, stay tuned.
If the student, oh, this is very good. If the student is from out of state, do they need to self-quarantine?
It depends what state they're from. The state of Ohio has indicated certain states where they want you to quarantine. So we had sent out an email a little while back that had a link to a form that an out-of-state student arriving could fill out to indicate. And it's only I believe it's only 8 states presently that are impacted by this. If you're from one of those states, then we would work with you to have you quarantine when you arrive. But we could talk more about that. I would say if you could please call the Student Affairs office tomorrow, and we can talk to you about that.
Excellent. If there happens to be an outbreak of COVID-19 on campus, would all classes go remote?
Depends on the level of outbreak. If it's contained and not spreading, then we might not do that. We're going to make that decision as each situation presents itself.
Are visitors allowed on campus outside of residence halls?
Yes, technically, if you're outside on campus and you have someone visiting with you, that is perfectly okay. We would want them to physically distance themselves and wear masks, but they could do that.
Okay, Darren, this one would probably be for you. For students with classes in the barns, at what time do we need to have our overalls and boots? I didn't know whether it said books or boots, but it's boots.
I would not have an answer to that question, but your faculty member or the department chair would.
And it's looking like that concludes what we have for right now.
Okay, thank you. Well, again, thanks for spending time with us this afternoon. We look forward to seeing you and meeting you in person soon, before the end of the week. We're excited to invite you. I'm sorry we don't know anything about when to have your overalls and boots, but Darren is such an English major. There are people here who do know, and we'll get that answer for you. Enjoy preparing to join us. It's an exciting time in your lives, and it's an exciting time in ours. So we welcome you to Oiler Nation virtually and look forward to having you here in person. Thank you.